Hey everybody, welcome back to GenX Book Club. Wow, I think this is like twice in 1 month that we're actually meeting. We met at the beginning of the month about Steve Martin. I'm Paul, and as usual, I'm joined by Suzanne Mattaboni.
Hi.
and uh, and tonight we're actually going to be talking with the author of the book that we're covering today. We welcome Steve Matsumoto to talk about his debut novel, The Last Mixtape. And on its surface, it's a story about a teacher grieving the loss of his sister while trying to figure out what comes next. But it's also a story about friendship, music, memory, love, and all those messy moments that don't fit neatly into a Hallmark card. If you grew up making mixtapes, spending hours deciding what song played on side A or side B, and if you've ever discovered that humor and heartbreak sometimes occupy the same exact space, I think you're going to enjoy this conversation. And we're going to keep this mostly spoiler free if you're listening here. So if you haven't read the book yet, you'll still be able to enjoy the discussion. So I want to welcome you to the GenX Book Club, Steve.
Oh, well, thank you, Paul, and thank you, Suzanne, for having me and just showing an interest. Yeah, and I think it's a very, it's an age-appropriate book for us people of a certain age, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the title itself is a great hook. I mean,
Yeah,
who has made a mixtape of our generation? Yeah.
yeah.
uh, and yeah, so how's life been treating you since the book came out?
It's been really fun. In our first discussion, we talked about how, we all have, other jobs, that we have
Yeah.
to do. But I
No
think
writers,
that this
yes.
is a matter of reaching, my mid 50s and saying that, hey, authorship and being a writer is something that I want to do. And, while it's not paying a ton of bills, it is a fun side project, and it's been more than anything else. It's just been an adventure, and getting putting yourself out there in a creative way, in a creative space with a book.
Yeah. Yeah. And uh, have you been getting feedback about the book? Is there
Yeah.
anything surprising that you've gotten
Let's
back?
see. Well, no, I mean, I think first and foremost, if you're gonna put anything out there, you have to be open to everything, right? You have to have the thick skin, to for good, bad, or indifferent, right?
Yeah.
But, for the most part, it's been overwhelmingly positive. And I think that people who've had some experience with grief, that's one population that's really, found it. And then obviously, people who were drawn in by, the mixtape and, remembering that. And then, yeah, I mean, there's been some reviews where you just sort of have to be like, well, it's okay. But what I would say is that, just the people from my past that have found it, I think that's been the most rewarding thing to
Oh,
make
that's cool.
a connection with someone,
Oh,
I haven't heard from in 30, 40 years,
Wow.
wow,
I,
nice. Well, especially because that's a little bit of the thread in the book itself is that, well, we had mentioned the character lost his sister, and in those moments, I mean, he was brought back into contact with a lot of people from his past, and those memories were kind of weaving in and out. In addition to the fact that he made reconnected with someone romantically from his past. So the fact that the book has sort of mirrored,
Yeah.
mirroring art a little way, people getting back in touch with you to talk about it. It's a little interesting.
Yeah, I mean it is. So I mean, I don't, so the book is, based on my experiences in my 20s. I did lose my sister, and so I think that, to have people that maybe knew my sister, come out and put like a, find like a social media message or something is really fantastic. And
mhm.
maybe even there's been a couple of stories about my sister I didn't know, that people said, oh, I was, I was in third grade with her, and we'd had a book swap together and stuff like that. So yeah, that's been, very rewarding.
Wow. Yeah. That. Yeah, I can't imagine. Wow. What? Yeah, I didn't even think of that. That's yeah, because of the like connection between the reality and your book. And, yeah, so there are definitely people that in your own life that can connect with it, and it it's it like this is your debut. So what made you decide that the story had to be written at this time?
Right, it's a great question. And so, um, I think that I've been doing, as I've gotten older and older, I've done more and more writing. And I think, the question, taking on a novel, and, taking on a novel is sort of a major undertaking, right? And so you have to decide, like, am I okay to take it on? If I take it on, what if I don't finish it? There's all those sort of things. I think just for this time, I think that enough time has passed from the event to sort of put it in perspective. I think that I have the time in my life, I have two teenage boys that are 17 and 18. So the intensive parenting time is kind of over, so we're not doing as much stuff. So I had the time, had the perspective, and just, I told you guys earlier, like it's like the marathon metaphor. Like I just kind of first time you do a marathon, the question has to be, can I finish it? And so that was kind of the task a couple of years ago to undertake. And so like I'm gonna get to the finish of this.
Yep, a little bit at a time, especially when you're working a full-time job. I know, yeah, firsthand how difficult that is.
Yeah, I mean,
up in the middle of the night writing and
yeah. So for me, it has to come early in the morning. So it has to be get up early, and like 5:30 to 7:30. That has to be the time. That's the maximum attention, willpower, creativity, all those things.
Yeah, I have the privilege of like having this platform. So what I do now, I write at least once a week because I do live writing sprints like on Thursdays at like 7 p.m. Eastern. So it's even though it's like during the day and everything, I have this like set time where I can like focus, and it forces me to if I hadn't gotten to it all week, then it's like a good time. So, but yeah,
I think so. I've talked to a couple of book clubs, and not surprisingly, people in the book clubs are about Gen X audience for the most part, and I think a lot of them, in addition to just the book itself, they have a lot of questions about writing in general and thinking about like, what if they want to undertake this? And so I think a lot of people have that in them where they're like, I think I have a story, I have something I want to write down, and it certainly sparks something in them.
Yeah. So, and I guess we could talk about we can talk more about mixtapes because that's your basically what the book is about, and I get it's centered around like it's named this because James and Kelly like used to send each other mixtapes to each other, and
yeah, and I don't know. So you guys can tell me. So that is entirely rooted in truth. So
wow.
Sending a mixtape to my younger sister, she'd send one back, and this was again, there was no email.
Yeah.
So literally, each letter was accompanied with a letter, and you had to work in the name of the song in the order in which it appeared.
Oh wow! And in the order too. Wow.
Yeah, I know that description shows up in chapter 2, and I know it's kind of like that's kind of hard to kind of grasp onto. But yeah, I don't know how it started. Incredibly nerdy, but obviously a great challenge, right? So
interesting exercise.
Yeah,
Again,
absolutely.
I had mentioned I feel like a lot of us out there were communicating via mixtape one way or another, maybe not quite in such a structured way as you and your sister or the characters in the book. They're reflecting that reality, but just a lot of us communicated via music or via song lyrics. I remember writing like the complete lyrics to a Billy Joel song to a 10th grade boyfriend, to send it to him, slow down, you crazy child, etc. Communicating via song lyrics, and I think we kind of still do relate to each other that way as post new wave people, or whatever we were stuck on. That was kind of my milieu, but we know each other through the music, through the movies, through Monty Python references. We're not letting go of that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, no, and I mean it was all so real, and I can remember my dad had in the living room had a turntable. Before even mixtapes, there were records. Sometimes records were even used to construct mixtapes, but in the living room, my dad had the turntable with the probably the 3-foot speakers, and just putting on a record, listening to it, and looking at a physical record album that had cover art, that had lyrics, and of course, I'm just going to say, because I'm of a certain age, that was more powerful than kids putting on Spotify today. But there's some bias.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think there's something to the physical nature of things. I do think that was one of the reasons the lyrics to The Boyfriend or the mixtapes were powerful, because it was, you were physically giving someone something.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, and it was definitely a work of art, because you had to you put stuff in the right order and have the right amount of time, because we had those 90-minute tapes of 45 minutes on each side. You could fit. It was like 10 songs on each side, but then there might be some longer songs, and then you have to find like a 1 minute, 2 minute song.
And of course, I'd like to think all of the songs were bangers, but there was probably going to be some filler in the middle. There was but like it was always, for me, it was always about the start of side 1, end of side 1, start of side 2, end of side 2. Those bookends were just so important. And again, just I'm thinking about my children, and how to make one, you had to wind the tape forward a little bit, past that clear section to where the magnetic tape actually started recording. I know these are little tricks and the joys that our kids will never know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How meticulous we had to be.
Yeah.
It was more meaningful that way, though.
Yeah. And we had also, you talked about the grief portion of this is when we first discovered you. We had just done Ordinary People, and that was like a super heavy book, and then the story about your James' sister dying by suicide, but your humor, I thought, was perfect, and it's so cool how the book balances like humor and sadness and grief, and at our age, I think pretty much most of us have gone through some kind of grief. Maybe not as drastic as that, but I mean, even losing parents at this time and everything.
I mean, I'm very aware of that we've gotten to a certain age where we've been here on this planet longer than a lot of other people, that that just is going to be, death is just going to be something that's going to be around us and continue to be around us. But yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why the time back in my 20s was, you're more invincible. You're more, thinking nothing bad can happen to you. And so, I think that there's a place in this book for anyone who's experienced, people will write me and they'll say, oh, I lost my mom, or I lost my dad, or it doesn't have to be, at that time or at that age group, but I think it has made a connection. And then, with the irreverent Gen X outlook on life, there's gonna be nonsense in anything, right? And even in death, even in our own
personifying. It was interesting. Well, the character is very, in a way, self-deprecating, but very much aware of his tendency to self-sabotage, or to kind of sabotage the situations that he's in, and he did kind of just personify grief as this person kind of invading his life, and he'd turn around and he's there on the couch, and they'd have, he'd flip him a little one-liner or something.
Yeah.
And, it was kind of like touche. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, and, as I'm sure we've all experienced similar, who have had to try and find a way to, if not personify, like, I don't know, give voice to that, and maybe not have a way as successfully as like the way that you expressed it. And so it's probably a little freeing to hear somebody vocalize that, or create, paint a picture of it and express it in the way that people only feel it,
Yeah.
And sometimes it could be funny. It was helpful, and it made it a more readable book, I think. That you were able to have a lightness to it sometimes, even though we all knew that it was a very, difficult subject matter to begin with. But to be able to have that almost as another character in the book, sometimes fading away, and then sometimes just right smack there again, whether you like it or not, it was effective.
No, and I really thank you about the, striking that sort of that right balance, right? Because, if I just wanted to say, I was sad, like that doesn't make for a very good book, right? Like it's also short. But yeah, so I think that, yeah, no, but yeah, I think that, finding that balance. So, and I know it's actually been hard. I know in terms of finding the balance, I know that it's been hard for some people to read. I know that people who are too close to it in the moment have said I had to put it down for a while and then come back to it. So I know that for some, line may be crossed a bit and too hard. But yeah, I mean, grief has this non-linear, wildly unpredictable way of, coming in and out of our lives. And I definitely wanted to, illustrate that over the course of the time of the book.
Yeah. You maybe don't realize how on and off that kind of feeling can be. Like you have to grapple with it every day, but sometimes you think things are going so much better, and you're going to see the light, and you're coming out of a tunnel, and then you can just get smacked in the face with it. Again, it's like it's as you said, it's not necessarily linear. It's
right. The triggers and traps are so unknown, right? Like it just you don't know. You have no idea what's gonna, if you were in that experience, and you at least if you were to say like, oh, Friday's going to be a bad day, like at least you could schedule for it, but it doesn't work that way. Right? You'll hear a song, or someone will say something, and then
it's not like, oh, every day a little bit better. Well, in general, I guess over the big picture, yeah, because you have to heal at some point, but it's not quite as, it can take you down at any moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
We see James go up and down a lot, and he's pinning a lot. It's interesting how he's pinning a lot of his recovery on his romantic relationships, which when I first started reading, I thought, well, this is really a healthy way to do this. But I think once you got further into it and you saw where those relationships led, maybe you started to realize that he was anchoring so much on the women in his life, he wasn't allowing himself really to fully experience the grief. So
yeah, no, and I will say that's, going way back, and I think you're 100% right. I think going back to the question about, how long did it take to write, one version of it is like, I will tell you that maybe in writing this book, I was maybe looking for, like James even says, like the corresponding good to balance out this, horrifically bad thing that happened, to maybe be the happy ending. But he wants, these women, he wants to something to work out and sort of balance the scales for him, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and also life is short too. Yeah. Oh, and little some of the funniest moments, especially at the beginning, you came from the children. So, was that your experience? Did you get that from real kids that you hear?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I was a first grade teacher. I did get a stack of homemade condolence cards from 5 and 6 year olds, and with all the bad spelling and honesty that that age can muster. And I did I wish I still had them. They definitely got like some move along the way. They didn't make the cut, but yeah.
Sure. I'm imagining who sat them down and said, okay, you should all write nice notes to your teacher because this happened. And like the children trying to figure out what to do in that situation and what to write, then that's what came out. So
not to mention at that age, there's not a lot of words you can write, right? You're just you don't know how to write a lot of words.
Expressing certain ways, something you have no experience with whatsoever, and but kind of put through the paces of the etiquette of helping someone breathe and
right, which brings up a great point, right? A great point is that we're awful with grief and each other's grief because we never learn how to do it. We're never taught.
Yes, because there's no way to really make someone. There are no words in those. That's what I usually say.
Yeah, which really I think is perfect. I think that's the perfect thing to say, right? Because it's just. Yeah.
Well, I worked for several summers with the American Cancer Society. They have a camp for children who have cancer and their siblings, and they put us through a lot of training for that, including a certain amount of grief training. And that was one of the things that I was surprised to hear that they tried to impress upon us. Don't try to say something. Just say, I'm sorry. You can't. And a lot of times you try to say something like, oh, so-and-so's in a better place. Why can't she be here? This is there's no way to say something that is going to be the right
No,
way.
there's in that moment, there's very few right person, right time, right messages. Like it's hard to get those things aligned. Like, and so there's the one scene where James is driving with a friend, and the friend says, you'll be okay because you can live with ambiguity. So that was in that moment one of the few right person, right time, right message, unifying of those things. But the most of the experience is just horrific, and people saying things to make themselves feel better, and not maliciously, but that's just that's
just stumble through it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have ever watched it. There's a show called, I think it's called The It Crowd or IT Crowd, and it's a guy, and they were going through a funeral line, and then one of the guys said, "Well, I don't know what to say. This is so awkward." And, he didn't know what to say to the widow, and so then his friend said, "Just say I'm sorry for your loss and move on." And so then he went up and said, "I'm sorry for your loss. Move on."
It does. That's about. I mean, it in my head that sounds so trite, but it's all you can. I mean, bad or sorry, that's all you. I mean, it's hard.
Yeah.
I found it interesting that you did describe a moment, just as you said now, where there was someone who said something that really did help you, because how hard is that? And maybe sometimes it's just coincidental.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think and I think that, and another moment I remember it's a product of just spending time with the person, right? Because when you're in the receiving line at the church or whatever, it's 15 seconds and it goes by fast. But I remember similarly about that time, I remember having a meal with I think my other sister and my aunt, and I remember my aunt saying, someone asked her, we were doing the thing after a death where everyone says, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And my aunt said something to the effect of, "You know what? We should just stop asking that, because if you're doing okay, great. And if you're not doing okay, you have a perfectly good reason not to."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, what do you say? No, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
So, to the emergency, I don't know. What do you? It's true. It's hard. But I also found it interesting that the romances were so important in the book. Almost, I mean, usually it's women's books that are okay. We have a love triangle, and we're frenemies. Now things are going to change, and we're going
Right.
to be in love. And I almost felt like it was refreshing to see um, a guy, a young man, feeling that that was giving the level of importance in the book to the progression of his romances. And even like I came to appreciate the cover of your book a lot once I got more and
Yeah,
more
yeah,
into
yeah.
it, because then you recognize every little thing that's on there, like the trapezoid and the
Yep.
initials, and everything was really specific to things that went on in the book. But it was interesting to see the guy's point of view of a romance instead of just always hearing, the woman's point of view on that kind of thing. So it filled me in a little bit that, the guys have hearts too, as much as
Well, and I think that's
that we're the only ones that obsess over this.
no, that's definitely something that's come up that, a lot of, of the books that are written with male protagonists, we got, action spies or,
Yeah, or
heroes
sci-fi,
or whatever. But yeah,
universe.
I mean, while not I wouldn't, this isn't like a romance book per se, but it has some elements of that. And
Right.
definitely. So that last book club that I met with, they kind of got onto that, this whole notion of that this is something told from a male point of view, which is pretty unusual. Doesn't typically come up about a lot. So yeah, and I think that yeah, and that is they are very important to James, as you mentioned. So he thinks and overthinks about both those relationships quite a bit.
Let's see, yeah, go through my list here. Yeah, it's so awesome. We really covered everything that's like. Oh, my list, that's so awesome. So let's see. Do you prefer cassettes or CDs when you make your mixtapes?
Well, it's interesting. I found a cassette, recently, and I the only and then if you find it, if you were to find a cassette at your house,
What do
do
you
you guys
play on?
have do you have a tape deck anymore
What do you
to
play on?
to play it? Do you have any means
No.
of playing it? So no, but we have like a 25-year-old karaoke machine
Oh wow!
that had CDs, but then it had a double cassette deck because you could record yourself, from this, singing along with the CD. So that was how I was going to play this tape that I found in my house. And I think the number one thing that really just dawned on me is like we took a lot of time waiting for things to rewind. Like that takes a really long time for something to rewind. And I was like, wow, like I could be doing other things at this point in time. So I have not gone back to vinyl and really gone back and done the record. I mean, if I had infinite funds, maybe I would do that because I just think there's something very charming about it. And we are also old enough to like remember that albums, artists cared about making albums and constructing albums as opposed to just releasing singles. So yeah, if I had infinite funds, I think I might just replace everything I have with records. But I think CDs were great too. I mean, that was a fun time when CDs came out, and everyone either had the Discman or
Yeah,
5-disc player or whatever. I remember that was a fun technological innovation at the time.
yeah.
It's amazing how many different formats we've gone through.
Oh yes,
I remember
absolutely.
a car with an 8-track.
Yeah.
Do you
And
guys
forget it,
remember
those would
when?
stop in the middle of the song and just
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember when CDs were first marketed? They were worried about them being physically too small, and they used to come in those long boxes.
Yeah, the long cardboard.
So
Yeah,
it's like
boxes.
up here, but then it had this whole, cardboard mechanism underneath it, so you could, I don't know, flip through it like a record, I guess, in the record store. But yeah.
Yeah.
thing. Record album, like under your.
Right. That's right. True.
Yeah.
But that was just my assumption.
Yeah. Well, then they ended up having like the long plastic things that
Yup.
they took off at the register.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I remember my first CD that I bought was like that. It came in the cardboard. It was Journey's Departure. So,
Okay.
do you guys remember your first CDs?
So I think it was either Dire Straits' "Money for Nothing," or Peter Gabriel's "So."
So,
I think those were the first couple I remember.
XTC Oranges and Lemons, I think.
Uh-huh.
I had the Peter Gabriel one also, but I think I bought that later. Maybe I had it. No, like, didn't you kind of like you had stuff on tape and then they came out on CDs and you bought the CD also?
Right, yeah.
It just, there was a couple. I had the album, I had the cassette, and I had the CD, so I think I might have had a.
Yeah. And then you download on iTunes when that came out.
I had several of the, those that I paid for this music 3 or 4 different times. Forget it. People really get, milking you dry.
That actually, when you were talking about Steve, when you were talking about like rewinding, taking a while, that it made me think of like when you're making the mixtapes, how if there's like a song in the middle and you gotta like find the like right place, you can rewind it, and then also it's sent to the previous song, and you gotta fast forward and it jumps too far, and you gotta find the right spot where to start it.
Like how long it's gonna take.
Yeah.
You make a different kind of whirring sound if it were at the beginning than if it's at the end, because there's more tape on the reel. And
Right.
I had science. I knew exactly where my songs were. Yes, I played things over and over again.
Talk about distracted driving, right? Like fast
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was so much more labor intensive to put these things together than now.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. This is just like that. I highly recommend this book. There's like so much to it. I mean, like we talked about, like there's the romance, of friendship, about grief, pop culture. You mentioned a lot of songs and stuff. I actually went in like I wasn't sure I remember them, so I go and bring it up on YouTube. Some of the songs that you listed. That's so awesome.
And that's a good point. So a friend of mine brought up that it was not the songs that are referenced weren't like her 90s music, and like,
right.
James is not like a big grunge like guy. He's sort of a college alternative music listener, and so it's not maybe the most quintessential 90s music that's referenced, but like in the second chapter, like the samples are mentioned, which they're a pretty obscure college band from the Northeast. But that, I don't know, that was important to me to include that because I think that was, the song, that I really experienced a lot of grief through. And so, when you're writing a novel, there's like, well, how much of it is true? I mean, you take liberties here or there with a lot of things, but with that particular song, that had to be in there. That was the song. Nothing Lasts for Long by the Samples that had to be included.
Did you struggle with some things that you wanted to include and decided to leave out, or did you have a hard time?
That's a good question. So again, like my wife is my first editor, and she's exceptional at helping people improve their writing while still maintaining their voice. She's very good at that. She's an English teacher. But specifically with the teaching reading and writing, just very excels in terms of that aspect of writing. And I think that, not so much struggles, but just, we had some lively discussions about what would be included or what wouldn't be included. I mean, we weren't entirely. You mentioned, Suzanne, earlier that grief is personified in the book. That was maybe going to stay, maybe not going to stay. I mean, that when we didn't know early on if that was going to make it throughout the entire book.
I think it worked well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, you had, when we spoke previous to jumping on the podcast, did you say that there's a second book that you're working on and that you're finishing?
Yeah, no, there's another book and it's gonna be, it's still about James Nakamura, so it's gonna be seen as a sequel. I don't, for a number of reasons. I
Yeah.
don't want to say that it's a sequel, but yeah, it is going to be episodes from James's life down the road, and the title of that is Textbook James.
Interesting.
So you can maybe
like
tell
title, yeah.
from the title he's still teaching at this particular point in his life.
Hey, very cool. I'd kind of be interested to no spoilers, but I almost wanted to tie things up better with him and these two women as by the time we got and so I was kind of wondering where he ended up and how long it took him to kind of get his equilibrium,
No, I think, like you said, without giving anything away, I think a lot of people are probably curious. They want to know what happened to James, especially if they were rooting for him. So yeah, this will Textbook James will indeed let the reader find out what happens to James.
That's nice.
Yeah. Like as a Gen Xer, you achieved this awesome feat of writing a book. I think there's like a lot of Gen Xers that reach a point in life where they start asking who they really want to become. And so what did it feel like when you finally when you got that book done, published? You received the hard copy of it. Can you explain to Gen Xers that feeling of accomplishment of?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I think there would be that feeling of accomplishment regardless of what generation I felt. But I think that there is something about, I don't know, we so strongly identify with being of the age that we are, and so I would say the moment was probably, Paul, when the books were physically shipped to my house, right? And you open it up and you're literally holding it for the first time, and I waited till my wife was home and we each kind of looked at it, and it sounds maybe something as simple as like, hey, I did it, which sounds simple, but it's true, right? And so I think when you go down this path of wanting to be an author and wanting to write a novel, I think you find out a couple things. I think you find out a lot of people have done it, but it's still an amazing accomplishment to do it. So,
Certainly.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Definitely a journey. Definitely a longer journey. Well, see, I wanted to be a writer pretty much my whole life, and went to college and actually majored in fiction writing. But then went out and I looked around, and everybody else around me who was, an engineer or a computer programmer or whatever they were actually making money, and I was not. Out and went into marketing and advertising, and was a public relations director. Kind of came back to this later in life, just because it's kind of that thing, like, all right, you always wanted to do it, you better do it. Better do it now. So even with that, it's still a great accomplishment. And even with that, and joining up with the writing groups that I did and such, people were saying things to me like, yes, okay, good luck on your journey. And I'm like, I'm not climbing Kilimanjaro. I'm like a middle grade, but yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
2 years into it, I'm like, oh
yeah, oh my God.
Nice.
Yeah.
What was I thinking?
I was very reluctant in the middle. So let's say the writing took place, let's say mostly in 2024. I was very reluctant in the midst of it to tell anybody that I was writing a book. I just really thought, if you tell someone you're writing a book, you better finish it. You're sort of saying that you're going to get to the end, and I guess, I don't know, fear, lack of confidence, who knows. So yeah, I had a hard time uttering those words, to another person, because I didn't know if that, whether I would make it to the end or not. So I don't know. It is a journey. It absolutely is, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and I had put it out there. I'm working on a memoir series, nonetheless, but it's called Journey of the Roadrunner. So speaking of journeys, so I've run a race in all 50 states, and I'm covering 10 states in each book, so I'm like writing about a lot of other things too. Like my first one is how I got into running, and then my time in the Navy, and then how I got back to running, and it's then like a travel thing. So I've been doing this since I went back to school, got my master's in creative writing. I went back in 2019, so I started basically around that time. So it's been a while, but I'm on the editing stages. But yeah, it's definitely a lot of work, a lot of well, yeah, very long journey.
Well, and I mean, I think that I just remember being in high school, and I felt like when we were in high school, I felt like the basic message, or the message I got, was you go to college, you get a good job. I felt like that was kind of the basic message. I feel like today, I don't know, you can open toys on YouTube and make hundreds of thousands of dollars. There's more creative ways to do things nowadays. But back then, I felt that was the basic message. And I don't know, Suzanne, I don't know if I always had the writing, bug, but I definitely had, what I had was the voice. I had the ability to tell stories, and had a point of view that I think, was sort of well developed. So that while the writing habit wasn't there, I think the voice was there. And I think that's what just evolved over time and got to a point where, like, yeah, I'm going to take this on.
Well, it's definitely a good voice, and I was surprised in learning in our earlier conversations that you didn't, as a younger person, see yourself as like an English.
No. It was. I think I shared with you that like I literally had trouble writing words in first grade, and my mom said that boys' writing muscles develop later. I was like, good, all right, that's my excuse. I'm going to use that for a long time. But no, I really, not until maybe brushing 30 did I try to really start to like craft words and sentences into something, vaguely meaningful.
I wouldn't have guessed, I'll be honest. A lot of nice phrases. I think it's a very well done book, and it definitely has a voice. Definitely has a strong voice. So, and sometimes, like you said, it's hard to listen to the voice because the voice is struggling, but it shows that it's effective.
No, thank you.
It's conveying what it wants to convey emotionally. So, not everybody can do that.
Yeah, effective and relatable.
I cried it. I choked up, but I cried it in moments. So, you wanna say, "It'll be okay." And then it's like, "Oh, okay."
I've definitely gotten some people and some reviews that are like, yes, like I laughed and cried in the same sentence in the same chapter, and definitely that's definitely part of it, and there's just some things that are downright sad,
Yep. All right. Did you have anything else, Suzanne?
I think we covered a lot of ground there, and I don't want to. It was good being able to read the book and not really know where it was going. So I don't want to ruin that for anybody else.
Yeah.
But it's you do get invested in, okay, how is this going to turn out, and which of these women is going to be good for him, and or maybe he needs his own space, or how is this going to turn? So I don't think it was that easy to predict.
Yeah.
It could have gone any way. So it's good that it wasn't one of those, I saw that coming a mile away type.
Definitely not.
More real than, much more realistic than that. Where you really you don't know.
Yeah. So Steve, how can people get the book and contact you, find you?
Yeah, easiest way is just all the information is at my website, which is just stevematsumoto.com.
And Suzanne, want to tell people what you got coming up or where to find you?
Lots going on actually. I've got my novel Once in a Lifetime, which is set in the 1980s, so that's my big GenX play there. So you can find that at SuzanneMattaboni.com or onceinaLifetimenovel.com. and also have a short story collection that's coming out in the fall, which actually didn't have any because I think I'm not.
Yeah, I'm excited for this.
But this is like the first
I know it's coming out good. Yep.
few of. Can you see it?
Yep, it's coming out. Yeah. Scary.
The cover, yeah, kind of.
Scary and pretty.
Stories and dysfunctional relationship stories and family stories and how that all tangles together. So that'd be fun. So I'll get the website together for that too. But
Awesome.
I'm hoping that's going press with Macro Publishing. So.
It's Steve. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your book. It's such, I hope people really enjoy this. This is incredible. I hope everyone listeners check it out.
Yeah,
and
thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, definitely. It's so much fun, and the book is a lot of fun, and emotional, and everything, nostalgic. So yeah, please check it out. And thank you everybody for watching. And we'll see you next time.